When they text you out of the blue, your world shifts. Your phone lights up, their name appears, and suddenly all the progress you've made feels like it's hanging by a thread. What do? This is a moment where your reaction defines everything: your strength, your growth, and your direction. But let me tell you something. The way you respond, or choose not to, has the power to not just protect your peace, but to solidify your transformation. This video isn't about giving you comforting lies or telling you to ignore your instincts. This is about equipping you with unapologetic, actionable tools to own this moment like the person you've worked so hard to become. The moment you see their name pop up on your screen, your heart races. You feel that mix of emotions: shock, curiosity, maybe even excitement. But here's the cold truth. That text isn't an invitation to nostalgia or reconciliation. It's a test of who you are now versus who you were then. And whether you realize it or not, this is a defining moment in your journey. Think about it. You've been working on yourself, building your confidence, finding your direction. You've fought to overcome the emotional chaos of the past, and now, out of nowhere, the past is knocking at your door. What you do next will either cement your progress or unravel it. This video will give you the tools you need to make the right choice. Not the choice society expects you to make, not the choice your emotions might push you toward, but the choice that ensures you stay on the path to the future you deserve. By the end of this video, you'll have the clarity and control to face this situation with confidence. If that sounds like what you need, I need you to make a commitment right now. Watch this video to the end. Every second is packed with insights, and I guarantee you'll walk away empowered. If you're ready to watch till the end, type "I'm ready" in the comments below, and let's get started. Number 1. The phone buzzes. You don't react. Picture this. You're sitting there, minding your business, going through life, and then it happens. Your phone lights up and you see their name. Instantly, your heart skips a beat. Your mind starts spinning. Questions flood in. Why are they texting me now? What do they want? Maybe your first instinct is to reply, to reach out, to open that door just a crack. Stop. Take a deep breath. That buzzing phone isn't a call to action. It's a test of everything you've been working on since the day they walked away. And here's the brutal truth. How you handle this moment defines your progress more than anything else. Do you really want to let their text dictate your emotions? Do you want them to have that kind of power over you again? Because that's exactly what happens when you react on impulse. It's not about what you say, it's the act of responding that pulls you back into their world. And trust me, their world isn't a place you need to revisit. You might think, but what if they have something important to say? Let me tell you something. Nothing they say is more important than the peace you've worked so hard to build. If it was that important, they wouldn't have waited until now to tell you. The fact that they're reaching out isn't about your needs, it's about theirs. And that's not your responsibility anymore. When you feel that urge to respond, remind yourself of this. You don't owe anyone a reaction. Your silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the ultimate display of control. You're showing them and yourself that you're no longer at their beck and call. You're prioritizing yourself, your growth, and your boundaries. Boundaries aren't just walls you put up to keep people out. They're the standards you set for how you want to be treated. And anyone who violated those standards in the past has no right to test them now. So, when your phone buzzes and you see their name, don't panic, don't spiral, don't react. Instead, pause, reflect. Remember who you are and who you've become since they left, because that version of you doesn't need to answer to anyone, not even them. Number 2, Silence speaks louder than words. Let me ask you a question. What's the loudest sound in the world? It's not a scream. It's not a roar. It's silence. Silence has a way of cutting through the noise, making people uncomfortable, forcing them to confront their own thoughts. And when it comes to dealing with someone who's trying to crawl back into your life, silence is your greatest weapon. Think about it. When you don't reply, you're not just ignoring them. You're forcing them to sit with their own emotions, their own decisions, their own consequences. They're left wondering, why isn't he responding? Did I mess up? Is he over me? That silence is more powerful than any carefully crafted text you could send. It speaks volumes about where you stand, and more importantly, where they no longer stand in your life. But let's get one thing straight. Silence isn't about playing games. This isn't about trying to manipulate them into thinking you don't care. It's about reclaiming your energy. Every time you engage with them, you're giving them a piece of your emotional bandwidth. And let's be real, do they deserve that? After everything they've put you through, do they deserve even a second of your mental or emotional space? The answer is no. Here's the thing about silence. It's a boundary disguised as a response. By choosing not to engage, you're setting the tone. You're saying, my peace matters more than your text. And that's a message they can't ignore. In fact, silence is often the only thing that makes people realize they've lost access to you. It's a wake-up call, a reminder that they're no longer a priority in your life. Now you might be thinking, what if they think I'm being rude? Let me tell you something. Their opinion of you doesn't matter anymore. They lost the right to have an opinion the moment they stopped treating you with respect. Your silence isn't about them. It's about you. It's about protecting your peace, your progress, and your power. The next time your phone buzzes and you feel that urge to reply, remember this. Silence isn't just an absence of words. It's a statement. It's a declaration that you've moved on, that you're in control, and that you're no longer available for their drama. And that's a message they'll hear loud and clear. Number 3, your growth isn't up for debate. Let's talk about growth. Real growth. The kind of growth that comes from hitting rock bottom and clawing your way back up. The kind of growth that forces you to confront your pain, your flaws, and your insecurities. That's the growth you've been working on since the day they walked out of your life. And let me tell you something, that growth isn't up for debate. Not now, not ever. When someone from your past reaches out, it's easy to feel like you need to prove yourself. You want to show them how far you've come, how much you've changed, how much better off you are without them. But let me ask you this, who are you really trying to prove it to, them or yourself? Here's the harsh truth, your growth isn't for them. It's not something you need to showcase or validate. It's not a performance for their benefit. Your growth is for you. It's about reclaiming your power, rebuilding your confidence, and redefining your worth. And if they can't see that, that's their problem, not yours. Think about it. When they left, they didn't care about your growth. They didn't care about the pain they caused or the pieces they left behind. So why should their opinion matter now? Why should their text hold the power to make you question everything you've worked so hard to achieve? Your progress isn't just about where you are now. It's about the journey it took to get here. The sleepless nights, the hard conversations, the moments when you wanted to give up but didn't. That's what matters. That's what defines you. Not their text, not their approval, not their opinion. And let's be clear, the fact that they're reaching out says more about them than it does about you. It's a sign that they've noticed your growth, even if they won't admit it. But that doesn't mean you owe them an explanation. You don't owe them anything. So when you see that message and you feel that urge to prove yourself, stop. Take a step back and remind yourself of this. Your growth isn't up for debate. It's not something you need to justify or defend. It's yours and yours alone. And no text, no call, no message can take that away from you. Number 4. Closure is a myth. The idea of closure is one of the biggest lies we've been sold in relationships. You've probably heard it before. You need closure to move on. People make it sound like some magical conversation will wrap everything up in a neat little bow, heal all your wounds, and make you feel complete. But let me tell you the truth about closure. It doesn't come from them. It never has, and it never will. Closure isn't a gift someone gives you. It's a decision you make for yourself. Waiting for closure from someone else is like waiting for a storm to apologize for ruining your day. It's not going to happen. Think about it. The same person who caused you pain, confusion, and heartbreak is supposed to give you clarity. That's not how it works. If they had the capacity to give you peace, they wouldn't have caused the damage in the first place. Now, I know what you're thinking. But if I could just talk to them one more time, maybe I'd get the answers I need. Let me stop you right there. The answers you're looking for won't come from their words. They'll come from your own acceptance of what happened. Closure isn't about getting their perspective or understanding their reasoning. It's about deciding that their actions, their explanations, and their intentions are no longer relevant to your life. Seeking closure from someone else gives them power over your healing. It puts your emotional well-being in their hands. And why would you give that kind of power to someone who couldn't even handle the responsibility of being in a relationship with you? Closure isn't about their apology, their explanation, or their regret. It's about you reclaiming your narrative. When you realize that closure is something you create for yourself, you free yourself from the cycle of needing their validation. You stop waiting for the conversation that will never come, and you start focusing on what really matters: your growth, your peace, and your future. So the next time you find yourself wanting closure, remember this: you don't need their words to heal. You just need to decide that their chapter in your life is over. Number 5. Their reasons are irrelevant. Why did they text you? That's the question you can't stop asking yourself, right? You see their name pop up and your mind starts racing. Do they miss me? Do they regret what happened? Are they trying to make things right? Stop. Stop right there. Because their reasons for reaching out don't matter at all. Let me repeat that. Their reasons are irrelevant. It doesn't matter if they're texting you because they're lonely, bored, or feeling nostalgic. It doesn't matter if they miss you, want closure, or are trying to rekindle something. None of that changes what you've been through or where you are now. Their reasons don't define your reality. Your response, or lack of one, does. When you start analyzing their motives, you're giving them a level of importance they don't deserve. You're allowing their intentions to take up space in your mind, and that space is precious. It belongs to you, your growth, and your peace, not to someone who walked away when things got tough. Think about this. Why do you need to understand their reasons? What does it really change? Let's say they texted you because they miss you. Does that suddenly erase the pain they caused? Does it undo the nights you spent questioning your worth? No, it doesn't. Or maybe they reached out because they're bored. Does that make you feel any better? Probably not. Whatever their reason, it doesn't change what happened between you. And it certainly doesn't change the fact that you've been doing just fine without them. Here's a hard truth. Their reasons for texting you have more to do with them than with you. Maybe they're feeling guilty and want to ease their conscience. Maybe they're nostalgic and want to relive the good times. Or maybe they're just testing the waters to see if they still have access to you. But none of that matters. What matters is how you choose to protect your progress and maintain your boundaries. So, when you find yourself overthinking their motives, remind yourself of this. Their reasons are irrelevant. The only thing that matters is your response, and the best response you can give: silence. Because that silence speaks volumes. It says, "I don't need to know why you're reaching out. I've already moved on." Number 6. Don't confuse nostalgia with progress. Nostalgia will have you sitting there scrolling through old photos, replaying happy memories in your head, and thinking, maybe it wasn't so bad, maybe we could work things out. But let me tell you something, nostalgia is not the same as progress. Just because you're remembering the good times doesn't mean you should forget the reasons it ended. Nostalgia is dangerous because it's selective. It only shows you the highlight reel, the best moments, the laughter, the intimacy. It conveniently leaves out the arguments, the tears, and the nights you felt alone, even when they were right next to you. Nostalgia is like a trailer for a movie you've already seen. Sure, the trailer looks great, but you know how the story ends, and it's not worth watching again. Here's where people get caught up. They mistake nostalgia for progress. They think that just because they can remember the good times without feeling angry or bitter, it means they're ready to revisit the relationship. But let me ask you this: is moving backward really progress? Is reopening old wounds really a sign of growth? Of course not. The truth is, nostalgia is a test. It's a reminder of what was, but it's also a challenge to focus on what is and what could be. It's easy to romanticize the past, but don't let that pull you away from the present. You've worked too hard to get to where you are now. Don't throw it away for a relationship that didn't value you the first time around. When you feel nostalgia creeping in, take a step back and remind yourself of the whole story. Not just the good parts, but the hard parts too. Remember the lessons you learned, the growth you experienced, and the person you've become since then. That person deserves better than to be dragged back into the past. And here's the kicker. The fact that you're feeling nostalgic doesn't mean you should act on it. It's okay to remember the good times. It's okay to appreciate the moments that made you happy, but don't confuse those memories with a reason to go back. Nostalgia is a reflection of where you've been, not a roadmap for where you're going. So honor the past, but keep your eyes firmly on the future. Number 7. Self-control is the ultimate power move. Let me tell you something about self-control. It's the one thing that separates people who win in life from those who keep repeating the same cycles. It's not about how strong you are physically, how charming you are socially, or even how intelligent you are mentally. It's about how well you can control yourself when it matters most. And when that message from the past pops up on your phone, it's one of those moments. Think about it. What's your gut reaction when you see their name? For most people, it's a whirlwind of emotions, excitement, curiosity, maybe even anger. And before you know it, you're typing a reply, pouring your energy into a conversation that didn't need to happen. But here's the thing. When you react emotionally, you're giving them control. They become the puppet master, and you're dancing to their tune. Self-control is about breaking that cycle. It's about saying, no matter what they do, my actions are mine, my decisions are mine, my peace is mine. It's about understanding that your emotional stability isn't up for grabs just because someone decides to throw a curveball into your day. And make no mistake, that text is a curveball. It's not about you. It's about them trying to figure out if they still have access to you. Here's a question you need to ask yourself. What's the message you want to send? Because every action you take communicates something. If you respond immediately, you're saying, you still have power over me. If you lash out, you're saying, I'm still emotionally invested in you. But if you take a step back, breathe, and choose silence or a measured response, you're saying, I've grown, I've moved on. You don't dictate my actions anymore. Self-control isn't easy. It's not something you develop overnight. It's a muscle you have to train, just like anything else. And the more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Start with the small moments, when someone cuts you off in traffic, when your boss makes a snide comment, when your ex sends that text. In those moments, remind yourself, I'm in control, not them, not my emotions, me. Because here's the truth, self-control isn't just about resisting the urge to respond. It's about building a life where their actions don't even register as a blip on your radar. It's about creating a reality so full of purpose, growth, and joy that a text from the past feels like a distant echo, not a call to action. Number 8. Your value doesn't need validation. Somewhere along the line, society convinced us that our worth is tied to how others see us. That if someone doesn't recognize our value, then maybe we're not as worthy as we thought. But let me hit you with a hard truth. Your value has nothing to do with their opinion. It never did. When someone from your past reaches out, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation. Maybe you think, if they're texting me, it means they finally see my worth. But let me ask you this. Why does it matter if they do? Why are you giving someone who didn't appreciate you the first time around the power to define your value now? Here's what you need to understand. Your worth isn't something they get to decide. It's not something they can give you or take away. Your value is intrinsic. It's built into who you are, and if they didn't see it back then, that's their loss, not your problem. Let me break it down for you. When they send that text, it's not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their regret, their curiosity, or their boredom. And none of those things have anything to do with your worth. Your value doesn't increase just because they finally realized what they had, and it certainly doesn't decrease just because they didn't see it sooner. Think of it this way, you're like a masterpiece hanging in a gallery. Some people will walk by and see your brilliance immediately. Others might glance at you and keep walking, not realizing the treasure they just passed. But does that change your worth? No, the masterpiece remains a masterpiece, regardless of who appreciates it. And so do you. So when you feel that urge to use their text as a measuring stick for your value, stop. Remind yourself of this. I don't need their validation. I've always been enough. Say it out loud if you need to. Write it down. Repeat it until it sinks in. Because the sooner you internalize that truth, the sooner you'll realize that their opinion doesn't matter. Not now, not ever. Number 9. Be ruthless in protecting your peace. Peace. It's one of the most underrated and underappreciated things in life. People spend so much time chasing love, success, and validation that they forget the one thing that truly matters, peace of mind. And let me tell you something. Once you've found your peace, you have to protect it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. When someone from your past tries to re-enter your life, it's not just about the text they sent, it's about the ripple effect that text creates. It's about the way it stirs up old emotions, reopens old wounds, and disrupts the calm you've worked so hard to build. That's why protecting your peace isn't just a suggestion, it's a necessity. But let's get one thing straight. Protecting your peace doesn't mean building walls around yourself or shutting people out entirely. It means setting boundaries and enforcing them unapologetically. It means saying, this is what I'm willing to accept, and anything less than that doesn't get a place in my life. It means recognizing that your emotional well-being is more important than their need for closure, their apologies, or their attempts to reconnect. Here's a question for you. How much is your peace worth? Is it worth sacrificing for a conversation that probably won't lead anywhere? Is it worth risking for a relationship that already proved it wasn't right for you? The answer is no. Your peace is priceless. It's the foundation of your happiness, your growth, and your future. And once you've built it, you can't afford to let anyone tear it down. Think of your peace like a garden. It takes time, effort, and patience to cultivate. You've spent months, or maybe even years, pulling out the weeds, planting seeds of growth, and nurturing your mental and emotional health. Are you really going to let someone who left your life stomp all over that garden just because they decided to show up uninvited? Of course not. So, when you see that message and you feel tempted to respond, ask yourself this: is this worth my peace? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be no. And in those moments, remind yourself of this: protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's essential. It's not about shutting people out, it's about letting the right people in. And if they weren't right for you then, chances are they're not right for you now. Number 10. Expect the trap and sidestep it. Let me tell you something you might not want to hear. Their text is a trap. A carefully disguised trap designed to pull you back into their world, their emotions, and their timeline. But here's the thing about traps. They only work if you don't see them coming. And once you know how to spot them, you can sidestep them every time. What kind of traps am I talking about? They come in many forms, and they all have one goal: to get a reaction out of you. The guilt trip is a classic. It sounds something like, "I've been thinking about us and I just feel so bad about how things ended." Then there's the nostalgia bait. "Remember that time we went to insert memorable place? I miss those days." And let's not forget the flattery bomb. "I've never met anyone like you. You were the best thing that ever happened to me." On the surface, these messages might seem harmless, even sincere. But let me be clear, they're not. They're calculated moves designed to stir up your emotions and get you to engage. And once you engage, you're back in their web. The moment you respond, you're handing them control of the conversation and, by extension, your emotions. Here's what you need to understand. These traps aren't about you. They're about them. They're about their need for validation, their desire for closure, or their curiosity about your life. And none of those things have anything to do with your growth, your peace, or your future. So why would you give them the satisfaction of a response? The key to sidestepping these traps is awareness. The next time you get a message that feels like it's pulling at your heartstrings, take a step back and ask yourself, what's their end game? What do they gain from me replying? Once you start looking at their words through that lens, you'll see the trap for what it is. And when you see the trap, you can choose to walk away. Walking away doesn't make you cold, unkind, or bitter. It makes you wise. It shows that you value your progress more than their attempts to pull you back. It's a declaration that you're no longer playing their games. And that kind of strength? That's what real growth looks like. Number 11. Action over reaction. Let me ask you a question. What are you building right now? Maybe it's your career, your health, your passion, or your future. Whatever it is, I want you to hold that vision in your mind. Picture it clearly. Now let me ask you another question. Does their text help you build that vision, or does it distract you from it? This is where most people get it wrong. They think responding to an ex is harmless, just a quick conversation to tie up loose ends. But let me tell you something. Every time you react to the past, you're taking energy away from your future. And energy is your most valuable resource. You can't afford to waste it on things that don't move you forward. Action over reaction, that's the mindset you need. When they text you, don't ask yourself, what should I say? Instead, ask yourself, what can I do right now to get closer to my goals? Because here's the truth. Reacting to their message won't bring you closer to the life you're building. But focusing on your actions, that's how you win. Think of your energy like a bank account. Every reaction you give to them is a withdrawal. Every action you take toward your goals is a deposit. Which one do you think will pay off in the long run? It's a no-brainer. The more you invest in yourself, the less their text will matter. The next time you're tempted to respond, redirect that energy into something productive. Hit the gym, work on your side hustle, call a friend who lifts you up. Do something, anything, that reminds you of the life you're creating. Because the best response to the past is progress. Every step you take forward is a message they can't ignore. It says, I've moved on, I'm thriving, and I don't have time for distractions. Number 12. You're already winning. The fact that they're texting you at all is proof that you've already won. Think about it. If they were truly at peace with how things ended, if they were truly happy with where they are now, they wouldn't be reaching out. Their message isn't about checking on you, it's about checking your temperature. They want to know if they still have access to you, if they still matter to you. And that's not your concern. The truth is, your growth has caught their attention. Whether they admit it or not, they can see that you're doing better without them. And that bothers them. It bothers them because it forces them to confront the fact that they underestimated you. It forces them to see you thriving in a way they didn't expect. And that's not your burden to carry. Here's the thing. You don't need their acknowledgement to validate your progress. You don't need their apology to heal. You've already done the hard work. You've faced the pain, rebuilt your confidence, and found your direction. And their text? It's just a reminder of how far you've come. When you see that message, don't think of it as an invitation to reopen old wounds. Think of it as a trophy, a symbol of your resilience, your strength, and your growth. The fact that they're reaching out means you've leveled up, and you don't need to step back down to their level just to prove it. Let me leave you with this. Winning isn't about getting the last word or proving them wrong. It's about living your life on your terms. It's about choosing your peace over their drama, your progress over their nostalgia, and your future over their past. You're already winning. Don't let their text distract you from that. By now, you've seen the truth. This isn't about them, it's about you. Their text is just noise. Your response, or lack of one, is the real message. Every time you choose silence over chaos, action over reaction, and peace over drama, you're declaring your worth. You're showing that you've grown, that you've moved on, and that you're in control of your life. If this video resonated with you, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel. Your support not only helps us create more content like this, but it also ensures that this message reaches more people who need to hear it. Drop a comment below. I choose peace. Let's build a community of strength, resilience, and growth.